Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Veerman, and I'm here with my friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman, as well as our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham, and, of course, intern Erica on the ones and twos. Guys, we are recording this on a Wednesday. I'm sure it will come out either later tonight or first thing Wednesday morning. Did I say we're recording this on a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night?
I think you said Wednesday.
I did, but this is a Tuesday night.
Is it Tuesday?
Guys,
What? No, I thought it was Wednesday.
Oh, it is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Shoot, tomorrow's Thursday.
Yeah.
Damn,
After
man.
that's Friday.
It's been a long... That's true. If things hold true to form. It has been a long day. So, guys, last night the Raptors won Game 5 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Shane and I were at that game with our friends Peek and Sean. Max was not at that game because manager Ash was receiving an award.
Yeah, the Manager Music Fund, which is an association of managers in Canada.
Huge congrats to her and the whole team here, Chris Taylor, everybody. It's exciting stuff. Did you get up? Did you say a few words for your manager, Max?
Yeah, actually. It was a cool dinner. There was it was a small room. There's maybe like 150 people in there. It wasn't like a big gala thing, but it was at a restaurant downtown. There's only 3 awards handed out. One was for Ash and Chris and Sarah, who work in the office here, for a banner year for their work on Arkells, which is very exciting.
Define banner year.
I don't know. Last year, the weekend won, and the year before, the Strombellas won it. So we're in good company. And they only give out one of these. And and Ashley told me kind of like the day before that, like, oh, you're going to have to say a speech. Like, you have to make the acceptance speech. And I just kind of winged it, and it was really good, actually. I nailed it.
If I do say so myself.
No, I was quite impressed. It was actually really sweet. Our booking agent, Jack Ross, who's been our agent since the beginning, he kind of talked about our year, and it was a really heartfelt, kind of felt like a wedding speech. It was just like, we've known these guys for a long time. Max worked with me as an intern when he was 18 years old, and kind of talked about our history. So that was really sweet, and he really nailed his speech. And then I went up and nailed it. Because here's the thing. I think I might have mentioned this last night at the bar, is that sometimes I can go into something really unprepared and kill it, and then sometimes I really fall on my face, as we know with the second live podcast, right?
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, so I mean,
your confidence has probably served you more well than it has not.
Yeah, but occasionally I screw up, so there is something to be said for preparation. Yeah.
I think for our listeners too, I always find it so interesting. Like, you're obviously in a very successful band now, but you interned at an agency that booked bands when you were 18. Yeah. That is a savvy place to put yourself.
Of course, yeah, because I got to know all the big wigs that are still doing it today.
So then they would want to help you out once you were ready to be booked. This was a conscious thought on your part.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Jack Ross did also say, he was like, Max showed me his music, and I said, stick to something else. It took a while to get Uncle Jack on side. But yeah, I did want to be involved in music in some way at a very early age.
Yeah.
But another funny thing happened. So there's this legendary country music promoter named Ron Sakamoto, and he's from Lethbridge, Alberta. He's probably about 75 years old. He's a Japanese Canadian, and he's basically run country music in Canada.
It's like the godfather of country.
No, he totally is. And he won some Lifetime Achievement Award. He also manages Johnny Reed, as well as putting on lots of shows.
Yeah.
And he told a story about his sort of experience coming up in the music industry. And so he went to LA when he was like a 23-year-old kid from Lethbridge, from a Japanese family. He goes down to LA, it's like the early 70s or late 60s. And he's on the mic, he's telling this story. He's like, and I realized 75% of the bookie agents are Jewish. So then I go home.
Our people.
Yeah, our people. That's a call back from last episode. So I go home and I start my company. I called it Golden Gold Booking Agency, or Golden Gold Promotions, or whatever the name of the company is. So these agents just started calling me because they assumed I was one of their own. And I said, this is Ron Sakamoto. And they're like, who are you? He's like, I'm the president of Golden Gold. So people start calling my office, say, I need to talk to JJ. And they're like, who's JJ? Be like, the Japanese Jew. Anyway, it was an awesome story. He nailed his speech. And it was just so funny because it's like, you couldn't do that today, really. I mean, I guess people change their names, but
we're all so visible.
We're so visible. Yeah. Everybody has an online profile. Everybody has a LinkedIn. But it's funny that you can kind of go down, like back in the 60s, kind of scope the scene, go home, start a company that's sort of under a false pretense, and no one really knows anything.
You hear stories like that all the time, and there's almost this sort of I feel like an envy of the old days when you could do that.
And it's also mildly politically incorrect, probably.
Sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
But the way he tells it, it's like pretty lighthearted and
It's charming in retrospect, but
Yeah.
really he was misrepresenting himself, and it was kind of an awful way to proceed. No, I'm just kidding.
anyway, it was a cool night.
Yeah. So anyway, the reason I bring this up is because the reason this has felt like such a long day is because during the game and then after the massive win, we all hung out. The whole gang got together. We had
was
a
awesome.
really good
Minus
crew
Erica.
last night. Sorry, Erica wasn't there. Yeah, we had a really good crew last night. And yeah, you just come from the awards show. So you're with Dan Hamilton. Me, Shane, Peek, and Sean, we rolled over. Simon Jane, our buddy Juice. Like, it was just a really fun night. And there was a lot of drinks had. I feel like it was like the one get out of jail night, like when you have a kid. Like,
And I got tatted up.
That's
oh,
right.
Shane got a tat. Yeah, I put that on the Insta story.
Yeah. All right, ready to be impressed?
For our listeners, he's taking off his jacket right now, pulling up his sleeve. Oh, there it is. He doesn't even know.
So visible.
It's covered in blood because
What is it?
Yeah, it's so
it's a snake. Right now, you can't see the snake because they put on this like saran wrap thing that's just filled with blood.
oh my
So-
god, that's the bloodiest tattoo I've ever seen.
There's a methodology. To
Yeah,
it.
so I could like shower in this for 2 weeks, like, and then I'm supposed to take this off in 2 weeks, and then you'll see the tattoo. It's very weird. I've never had this method done before.
So it bakes in the blood, and I guess that does something good to it. The crazy thing is that's not his blood.
No.
You get that at the actual tattoo place.
I can't tell if you're serious.
I'm joking, of
Okay,
course.
it's your own blood.
Wildly unhygienic. And
I don't know how these things work. I'm an idiot.
But yeah, so you can't see it right now, but there's a snake under there. And
So-
I got this tattoo with my friend Sean.
well, here's the funny thing: is they both get these tattoos, and then this guy, the tattoo artist, has this methodology where he's like, "I'm going to put the saran wrap on, leave it on for 2 weeks," but then they proceed to drink about 1,000 beers each, which thins the blood anyway. So they're both bleeding into these blood bags basically all night long while we're at the game, and like, yeah. Anyway. Sean got home at like whatever time he got it, and he sent like a photo, and he's like, "I think it's looking good, guys," but it's just literally like this giant blood sack.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did drink way more than expected to for several reasons, and one of them being that I bought two large beers right off the top.
Yeah.
To get going, and then it was the third quarter, and then Mike looks over to me. He goes, "Boys, they cut off the taps in the fourth quarter." And I'm like, uh-oh, like, we're men, we want to drink beer. I'm thinking, right? Like, let's get, so I think I'm cool. So I'm like, all right, let's get that woman, the beer woman, and let's get some beer.
Get her.
Yeah. And Mike's like, no, let's wait when she comes around. I was like, no, she's going to be gone forever. She's not going to come back. They're going to cut off our beer. And he's like, okay. He's like, she's going to get more beer and she'll be back. So she comes back, and the beers came to what, $76?
Yeah, it was 72, and you gave her 80, so you gave her an $8 tip. You were
Yeah.
pretty drunk and bleeding profusely, but
Well, for the amount of
100%.
that's 20% probably.
and it's
right?
like in the movies where it's like they send the beers down the row, so people are passing it, and then we're passing the 80 down.
yeah, you don't want the change. But then no one seems like that happy with the beers.
I was extremely happy.
Yeah, well,
Oh, I mean, I had trouble drinking it.
You
So
didn't feel like you were being showered with enough thanks
people were
and
being
gratitude?
weird about it because I thought when Mike did the announcement, it meant, all right, everyone needs more beer. And then at the end, I'm feeling everyone's cans because I spent all the money, and everyone's cans was like 70% full.
So you went through the chairs and just
Yeah,
picked them up?
so I started drinking everyone else's
He's-
beer.
I
was,
to get
yeah.
the value. And
We're not
then-
wasting a cent.
Then Mike goes to the washroom and comes out with his beer still in his hand. I was like, geez, Mike's been holding that beer forever. This is after the game. Like, we're sticking around just so Mike can finish his beer. And then he sneakily goes to try to throw it in the garbage.
Yeah,
And I
not
go,
sneakily. I was open about it. I said, I'm going to get rid of this, and then then you drank it, I think.
yeah, then I had to grab yours. I'm like, you're not wasting. Like, I can't waste 76 bucks.
So the
$80
thing-
bucks.
At that point, everybody was done their beers, and everyone wanted to go to the Walrus because Max and Dan were
Well,
waiting.
I had finished the other guy's beers.
Yeah,
too.
so but I felt like I was holding up the crew. That's why I was going to throw it out. I'm like, we're still going to drink a lot tonight, but I guess I didn't respect that you dropped almost $100 on beer. And my thinking was, as per usual, at the top, just before the fourth, you always get one for the fourth quarter. What we didn't quite like figure is like, because it took us a while in the third to get our beers and back to the deck. We had a giant beer each, so we had to finish that beer, which actually got us to the end of the fourth quarter. So we weren't starting the Shane beers until the game was basically there was a minute left.
Our listeners are like, can you guys shut the hell up about these beers? It's like, all right, we get it. You drank some fucking beer.
No, but it's more about teaching people about value. And like, you know, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on it, you should appreciate the thing that you buy and actually
Definitely
use it. And then I remember I was like, Mike, you were going to throw that out. And you're like, you're like, I'm being honest. I could have just dumped it out in the washroom when I was in there. So that was running.
I felt like I was the guy holding everybody up because there was like no one left in the arena, and it's just us standing in the concourse drinking. Chris Boucher actually walked by, the Raptors player, which Shane had a funny theory on. So basically, I actually felt like everyone was just waiting for me to finish it, and I was like, I'm not going to chug this beer. There's so much more drinking to be had. I was just trying to be courteous to the guys. I didn't realize it was also offensive to you since you spent money.
I'm one of those guys.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. But Chris Boucher walked by with like a lady, and I was like, Chris Boucher, and like everyone's in the concourse, and then Shane was like, don't you think it's weird? Like, isn't there like a player's entrance or something like that? I'm like, yeah, that is weird. Why do you think you did that?
Like, why would a player walk through all the fans
with the commoners?
And everyone was like, hey Chris. Like,
maybe he's trying to impress the girl.
Of course, that's what he
that's
was doing.
Shane's theory. Yeah, he's
and
like,
but Chris was doing a thing where he was like trying to be fake low key. Like, it's like when Leonardo DiCaprio is wearing a hat like this. Everyone knows it's Leo, right?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, hey, so yeah. But he's doing it because he wants to be recognized.
Yeah.
It was all very interesting. Because that's his way of being famous for a guy who never gets any playing time.
Yeah. You got to get his kicks in somehow.
Yeah, you don't see Kawhi Leonard walking through the concourse with the fans. But yeah, and then we met up with you. Everyone was in a great mood. It was a fun time.
It was wicked. Yeah, my old college buddy, Chris Necto, who shout out to Chris. He listens to the pod every day, and he got a chance to hang out
It
with
was
Shane.
great to meet or hang out with Chris and see him. Yeah, he had a buddy with him.
He's the best. He's really one of these like rare guys that is just he's like sort of like the most genuine, content, generous, kind of joyful guys that you can meet, but he's so like low key about it all. I don't know. He's kind of a country boy too. He like lives out in the country. He likes doing country boy stuff. Anyway, I'm so glad I know him, and and he listens to the podcast. And
well, you told me he was a fan of mine.
You wouldn't. He knows all about you. And then you were a little weird with him, I thought.
How?
Well, you're just doing like you were just like you.
Oh my God, you were Chris Boucher'ing out.
That's
Shane.
not true.
No, you know what it is. I think your style of meeting fans is different than the Mike and I style. Which makes sense.
I was talking his ear off.
No,
I wouldn't leave him alone.
Okay. I left you guys for.
We were talking forever.
I'm sure it warmed up. Sorry, I think it just. You know what it is? Just the first.
Shane is incredulous right now. This is not good, Max.
No.
You have crossed a line.
You know what it is, and this totally makes sense, and it's on brand for you. You normally when like a fan comes up and you're like, oh hey, it's so good, and you put on like a smile and you try to act as warm and inviting as you can. Mike does this very well.
Yeah.
You don't quite do that.
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I'm crazy nice. Well, here's the thing. I can always sniff out the people who are like Shane haters, and they just are.
There's no Shane
There
haters.
are Shane haters. I know them. So sometimes they're just like, hey, Shane. They're like, Max! And then they'll like freak out and like they're just trying to get to you. No. But then the people who are Shaniacs, I'll talk to them for way too long. And that's what I was saying. That
you talk to them so long they become Shane haters.
Yeah.
Well, they start out as Shaniacs.
That's what happened last night because I was talking this guy's ear off because you were like, he likes the desserts. I was like, you like the desserts? And then I kept talking about the dessert. And then he was trying to find a way to slip away from me. And then someone else came to like divert my attention for a second. Then I turned around and he bolted out of there and just like boxed me out so I wouldn't talk to him anymore.
No, he had to drive home too. He was kind of at a work meeting kind of thing.
He was there for another hour. It's not like he couldn't have a conversation with me.
Anyway, shout out to Chris Nectar.
Yeah, he's great. Well, speaking of people that listen to the podcast, after we recorded yesterday morning, Shane and I were leaving here, the offices, and walking over to work. A guy on his phone is walking up, and he pulls his phone away as he's walking past. He goes, "Hey guys, huge fan of the pod."
He didn't sound that nerdy. He was a cool guy.
He was cool. Yeah, he was like said he was a fan of the pod,
and he looked like a normal guy.
Hey, also, randomly this morning, the reason why I had to duck out of the bar early last night is I had to do like a talk for like a media company. And the guy who runs country music stations across the country, he's like, love your show on Crave. I saw it on the thing and I watched it. It's great. He's like an older guy.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. Brick by brick, guys.
Also, we were while Shane and Sean were getting their tattoos, Pete and myself, my brother, and Dan got some food at the Black Bull here in Toronto, right at Queen and I can't remember, Beverly. And while we were there, a girl walked by, Marie. She pulls her headphones off. She goes, I'm listening to your podcast right now. I just want to let you guys know. Like, talk to us while we were on the patio.
Blowing up, guys.
Yeah.
While we were on the patio. And then she kept it moving.
Yes.
Here's the weird thing about that, though. Not her, but sitting in an SUV, literally, like parked on Beverly, was Elizabeth Moss. smoking a cigarette.
Wow.
With the window halfway down.
I've seen her at bars before too.
I
It was
told
so
you that I
weird.
saw her.
She's dating a guy in Toronto, right?
I
Is that
know
why?
this guy kind of. I told you that whole story.
Are we allowed to talk about this on pod? I mean, we've talked about this at bars, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there's nothing really to tell. Only that I know a girl who's dating a girl that I worked with at Eastside Mario's a long time ago. Lovely, lovely girl. She dated this dude, and then they broke up. And then next thing you know, find out at a party that dude is now dating Elizabeth Moss.
Just some Canadian
Wow.
dude.
Yeah, and not to brag or anything, but when I was in the fancy room at the Raptors game, Elizabeth Moss and that dude were there hanging out, so they're still together.
Did they recognize you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, but she was just chilling in the SUV, and then she wasn't in the SUV, and I texted my wife, and I was like, Elizabeth Moss is hanging out in an SUV, just like smoking a cigarette. Danica just responded, "Sneaky bitch." Danica loves The Handmaid's Tale, so we're fans, and Peggy Olson, of course.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, so anyway, that's why this has felt like a long day.
Hey,
Well, and Max got us like 4 shots and
Oh,
free
you
beers
guys were
and-
being ridiculous with the shots.
Well, you know what? I was like, you know what? Peak and Sean don't come in the city that often. You know, you guys all probably bought your own tickets, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I should be hospitable. And yeah. Anyway, I need to sneak out of there because as soon as someone sees like one of us like settling up, they go, wait a second, where are you going?
Oh yeah, they pile on.
Yeah. So I just left and I forgot my credit card there. So I had to go get my credit card there this morning.
Wow.
$126.
Hey.
Pretty good.
Those weren't free Arkells drinks last
No,
night.
I bought them with my
Whoa.
own hard-earned money. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, but we were feeling those this morning. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But it was a great night. Cheers to the Raptors. Game 6 tomorrow in Philly.
Yeah, everyone was so happy. You were saying crazy shit, Mike, last night. You're like, this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. I was like, what's more exciting, that or the birth of your child? You're like, they're on par.
It was magical. It was just such a joyful beatdown and so cathartic. And after years and years and more than a decade of being a long-suffering Raptors fan who has sat through mediocre players, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I rooted for fucking Joey Graham and Jamario Moon. So to have Kawhi Leonard be the leading our team is special. But that's enough about the Raps. Maxi, on tap for today, you have set up Instagram hiding likes update, because we talked about this.
Yeah.
We were on this story before it happened, and then it started happening. People started going on their Instagram and being like, why can't I see how many people like this? So that's caused a little uproar within our own even chat group. Also, Max, you saw Michelle Obama on last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about that? And then we're going to get to some Twitter questions, which, Erica, you sorted out for us? Is
I
that
did. I've curated a few.
And you're going to read them to us.
Yep.
This is exciting.
Hey, do you guys like the way I'm choosing these topics, by the way? Like, could they be improved? Because it's like, I don't know what's the sweet spot for topics? Like, maybe
You never know.
You never know.
Some
but
days
you,
are gonna
have
be
you guys
good.
been satisfied with it so far?
I've been satisfied.
Yeah.
Okay, but I know that I'm open to suggestions. So-
Yeah, that's great. I like that you're taking the bull by the horns and producing the shit out of this thing, man.
Okay, cool.
You're hitting us with the topics because really, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so let's start with Instagram. So they have implemented what we discussed before. It seems like on more accounts than we originally thought. On my personal one, I can still see likes.
Yeah, mine on Arkells we can, but not Mike on Much.
Not Mike on Much anymore. I think Shaney got hit.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter because even if you don't get hit, someone else has.
Everybody else has.
And they can't see your likes. So
Totally. Yeah.
Shane, what do you think? Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know your thoughts.
It's definitely benefiting people who actually produce real content and get conversations going in the comment section and that, and it's hurting people who are just like Instagram models who just their bread and butter is getting likes. So for I think regular people and people who just provide like surface content are going to hate it, and people who really provide stuff that generates conversation is going to love it.
So that's
'Cause
the
all of
best-
a sudden they're way more valuable.
That's the business perspective for sure. Like in the idea of monetizing Instagram, who I think that would be the people that would most be vocal about this sort of thing. I think like just overall, it's more healthy. Like I think it is like because I think it is true. People don't want to post because they're scared they're only going to get 10 likes, or it's embarrassing to get 7 likes because it feels like a more healthy thing, and it's less like sort of like relying on the dopamine hit of the double taps.
And often you're not even liking stuff you like. You're just like, oh, this person always likes my stuff. I got to be equitable and like theirs because this is one of my likers, my good likers, and I got to be fair. That's
Sure.
the way I would think.
Yeah. Well, so when we talked about it the last time, I said I was like, oh, this is interesting that like these tech companies are like trying to take like a bit of a moral stance on like how they operate their business, and I said that to Lauren, and I was like, no, like they would never do that in a million years. You're very naive to assume any goodness with these companies. So I know we're talking about like, oh, they've actually done a service to us because they're improving our mental health. Are we delusional to think that? Like, is there some underlying initiative that we're not seeing that
I
is
don't-
ultimately going to serve
Like, does
their
it benefit
business?
Instagram in
Yeah,
another
it's
way?
like it's a must, right?
Of course, I'm sure there's a long-term play in order for them to monetize things.
And it can be both, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it can.
I'm almost
Anytime you
talking-
improve a product or service, like A&W getting that plant-based burger,
Beyond Meat.
So it helps the environment. It reduces carbon from people eating meat or whatever. And it's
however that goes.
Yeah, like the cows are farting so much that's actually causing a huge problem. So it helps eliminate that, and it is just
Driving sales.
driving
big
sales.
business.
Yeah. It's Tasty Burger.
And when I say that it's healthy, it's more healthy for people and encourage them to post more. I know that's sort of like their company line and sort of like we want to help the overall sort of like mental health of our users. To your point and to Lauren's point, I'm sure there is a 5-phase plan here in a way that they can monetize it that I'm sure somebody's figured out or we will be unveiled very soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when Bell Let's Talk does something. It's like there's always a huge Facebook debate on whether it's good or bad. It's
Oh,
like that
sure.
corporation is evil, but it's like at least they're doing something good.
Yeah.
Overall, like
Yeah, there are situations when there could be a win-win.
Just because there might be a plan to monetize doesn't mean there aren't good benefits to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you like it? How do you feel? How does Lauren feel about it?
With Arkell still see the like, so I haven't really got a real taste of it. It was aside from signing into the Mike on Much account, so I don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you saw Michelle Obama.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I went.
You pay for a ticket, or is that
I did not pay for that ticket.
still batting 100?
Yeah, still batting 100. But yeah, so I ended up going with Lauren and my mom. It ended up being like sort of like the perfect mom date. I'd say like 80% of the crowd were like women between the age of 35 and 75. But it was awesome. Phoebe, who's the host of Two Dope Queens, she moderated it. And so basically there's like kind of a montage video of like things Michelle Obama has done and like with late night clips and stuff. And then she comes out. Everybody's so jazzed to see her. And they just had like a really nice conversation about, like how life is a journey and how it's okay to fail and how you have to kind of work through your fears to keep moving forward and just being kind of good to yourself. It was a lot of just like great values and wisdom imparted, thank you, from Michelle. Anyway, and everybody left feeling so good. And again, there was nothing miraculous about it. It was just two women having a conversation, and they're just like with some interesting insights. But it got me thinking. Like, I'm such a sucker for this kind of thing. Like seeing Michelle Obama was like, oh, that was just the best. Like I needed that. I feel more hopeful about the world. I feel more optimistic. And I was just wondering how you guys have you guys ever seen motivational speakers of any sort? And like, does that stuff work on you? Do you think this could work? Do you think anybody who saw Michelle Obama would go, you know what? I got to do a little better, and I got to work a little harder and be better to my fellow neighbor? Or is it only appealing to a certain kind of person? What are your personal experiences with this kind of thing?
I think that I think even if you're someone that thinks you would not walk away from a motivational speech, or like if you see someone who's like a professional speaker or motivational speaker, I think the reason they're so good at what they do is that even someone who would think I'm not going to take anything away from this ends up walking away with something. Like at a corporate thing that Shane and I were at, there's the Olympian Mark Tewksbury did a speech, and he was phenomenal, and it was really, really good. He was sort of the highlight of the day, and I'm like, oh, that's how you do it. Like he built his story into 3 amazing parts, and I appreciated the craft and the construct of it, and I also went away feeling really sort of uplifted. I recently saw Jane Goodall, actually.
Oh yeah.
My sister-in-law Stevie got us all tickets for Christmas, and it was fascinating. We saw her in Hamilton, and she was really, fascinating to listen. She does very inspirational work, obviously, and like a lot of celebs are like big on her because obviously the environment's a big part of her initiative as well as the chimpanzees. But Leo DiCaprio's like, he threw a 75th birthday for her, and stuff like that, which she sort of not so subtly dropped. She's a little bit of a name dropper,
She's like, I know I'm a celebrity.
Exactly, but she's so self-aware in that sense that it was just really good. But I guess to your question, like, one, I take something away from anytime you see these people who are professionals at it do it. And two, I think it absolutely serves a purpose. I wish more people will go out and get inspired and sort of walk away feeling how you felt after Michelle Obama.
Well, it made me kind of think that I was like, this is kind of what church could be, or
sure.
or being religious, and it's a matter of practicing it. So people go on Sundays, like once a week, to be reminded. It's like practicing anything, or going to the gym, or whatever it is that you want to get good at. it's like you have to make a conscious effort to like practice gratitude or practice generosity. And I was like, oh, this is I get when I see things like that, I'm like, oh, I understand why people are religious. Like I'm not a religious person at all, but if that's what it does for you, that you are reminded of things you ought to be doing and ought to be thinking about, then it can really serve a good purpose.
Yeah, I'm, as you know, Max, I'm huge into motivational people because I'm the type of person, I need to hear things I already know said out loud by someone who's not me. So I already know everything I need to do.
Well, we all know that, right? That's
exactly.
The thing. Yeah.
Everyone knows. But some people, they just don't like to be told by other people what to do, even if they feel like it's lectury or like they're holier than thou. And I think Tony Robbins, a lot of people would think is almost cultish, and it'd be weird if you were into him.
Are you into Tony Robbins?
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't know much about Tony Robbins. I know he's a big deal.
He's got big teeth.
Yeah, he's a big guy, too. But I'm more into right now. I go through phases, too. Like, I'm very fad-like. So, like, I went through a Gary Vee phase. When I was much younger, when I was in my teens, I was Tony Robbins. And now I'm David Goggins. And
oh, yeah. He's the Navy SEAL dude.
He's amazing. Like, he was only, I think there's only been 75 African-American Navy SEALs in the history of it. He talks a lot about how black people have trouble swimming. So it's hard to become a Navy SEAL. And he talks about black people have a different bone density.
Oh, wow.
And this is like me saying what he said. You know, this isn't
Sure.
my theory, but that's why he was saying there's such a low percentage of people who can actually be Navy SEALs who are African American. And then he talks just about how he pushed through and he ran a marathon without doing any training, and it's just all mental for him and just really pushing through the pain and just doing things. So like when I used to not be able to do any push-ups, but through listening to David Goggins and being like, he talks very funny too. He's like, motherfucker, I don't give a shit. Just fucking do it. It's raining. Who gives a fuck? You're cold. So what? Keep running. And then I'll listen to that. I'll be like, yeah, who gives a shit? It's raining today. I'm going to go out and run.
She's like, you're right, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Alex is like, excuse me?
Fuck you, Alex. I'm going for a run.
Going
It's
for
our
a
daughter's
fucking run.
birthday. It's Mother's Day also. Fuck off. I want abs, bitch. But yeah, now the other day, just to end the story, I did 60 push-ups
In a row.
in a row.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I went from a guy who could do 0 to 60.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really an amazing thing, just like the power of being reminded. You know, like I try to listen to some mindfulness apps and read mindfulness books. And that's sort of about just sort of like living in the present and being mindful of what your thoughts are doing. And it always blows me away. And I come back to it a lot if I'm feeling anxious or stressed out about whatever's going on in my life. And just having someone remind you, no, step back for a second. You know, okay, think about, what you're going through right now is impermanent. You think about the way you're choosing to frame this and how you could choose to frame things differently. Like just these tools. And unless somebody is like actually telling me, I will forget it immediately, and then I'll let my mind and my imagination get away from me. But so I don't know. It's just a really, I think I'd recommend that for anybody out there, just like to find, like someone like David Goggins or anybody else in that vein, and just be reminded of the things that you need help with. Erica, what do you got?
Yeah, interesting what you say about religion. We were just talking about before we started rolling. I went to Catholic schools my whole life. And when you're in elementary school, my family's not very religious, though, at all. Like, we don't really go to church. But my parents were raised very religious. Not very religious, but just go to church every Sunday. But I don't know if they ever super really personally, like, subscribed to it. And then, so in elementary school, it's very much like you study the Bible and the teachings of the Bible and stuff like that. But once you get to high school, you study world religions, so it switches from like just Catholicism, and you learn about beliefs from other religions and stuff. And within world religions, I don't know if I was just really lucky with the teachers I had, but a lot of our lessons were based sort of like, as I look back now, I'm like, oh, that was us learning mindfulness and learning. Oh. And like a lot of it really just like instilled, like we had lessons on lessons about like how to treat other people. Like that's what religion class was a lot of to me. And like since then I think I credit like honestly like religion class for a lot of like the morals I like have with me today, because you literally talk about it, you know what I mean? And I don't know another point in my life where I was literally talking about like how to like develop your own morals and thinking about your own morals and like things you value and stuff like that. That's really the only time I've done it growing up. And so even now I think about it, if like I have kids one day and I don't choose to put them in like the Catholic school system, I'm like, how will they get those lessons where they're literally talking about it and thinking about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, similarly, when I was a kid growing up, we always said grace before every dinner, which is funny because, like, as we know from the last pod, I'm half Jewish. My mom's Christian, like Anglican background, but we weren't religious at all. And it's funny, when we started saying grace, it was because probably my mom's family had done it, and so she was like, "That's what my kids are going to do." And it was something really generic, like God is gracious, God is good, and we thank Him for this food. Amen. Like, it was very short and mindless. But then as we got older, my dad was like, "No, you know what? Like, I'm into saying grace because it's a moment to reflect and to show gratitude. We're going to leave the God stuff out of it." And so now, like, if we have like a family dinner, my dad will, in Michael Kerman like sort of way, will go, let's like take a moment to really appreciate like the food that Emily made and the fact that we can all be here together. And he really tries to, and he's like, we're here at Thanksgiving, and this is a moment that we really, or the Easter, this is about spring and renewal or whatever. Like, and he had like a whole book of sort of hymns, or not hymns, but like poems about renewal and gratitude. And I was like, oh, that's so good. It's a great way to like check in and show gratitude. So I weirdly like the idea that as an adult I'd be into grace when I was growing up. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But now that I've had that experience, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to say grace all the time. Like, I think we should before every meal. I think it's a good habit to get into.
It's kind of just like a little reflection.
Yeah.
Are you agnostic or atheist?
You know what's funny? I don't think about it very much. It was one of these subject matters which I wouldn't really declare.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just
I
like,
feel I haven't given it enough thought.
agnostic is you don't think about it. Atheist means you think God's stupid. Is that basically it?
Atheist, you don't believe in anything.
Yeah, agnostic, you're open to the possibility of anything.
Atheists believe you don't believe there is a God.
Oh, sure. I guess I'd be agnostic. Only because I wouldn't put my foot down. And
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Agnostic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more likely than not that we're probably all just hear a bunch of membranes and atoms bumping around on this earth, and when you go, you go.
Yeah, but where do all the membranes and atoms come from? It's so hard to wrap your head around it. I wouldn't make any proclamation on likelihoods given the unlikely nature of us even being here talking.
Yeah, I guess I just like the natural development of the universe as an entity. Sure, like if you go back to like a Big Bang or where does it all come from? When I do think about those things, sure, there could be some sort of like entity or like conscious thought in creating all of us, intelligent design. But I guess just watching from what scientists have sort of shown us about the way that like a worm evolves over time, or we evolve, and then it's like we're all sort of like these creatures, and it feels like a natural development. Now, what triggered all that natural development, I do not know. Mm-hmm. But religion in the sense, or God in the sense of like, well, you played by the rules, so you get in the club, and you didn't, so you're turned away. All of that sort of stuff, I have trouble wrapping my brain around.
Yeah, the rules
of the construct of man. Yeah,
if there is a God, the rules might not be how we've laid them out.
Sure.
But I think anything's possible.
Yeah, it's so daunting. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't think about it, because as soon as you start thinking about it, like
you have a panic attack.
I have a panic attack.
Scared,
I'm like, God, like what does this all mean? Like I choose not to think about it because right now I'm getting anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah.
But if you're a person who can go down that rabbit hole, then of course you start coming up with cool ideas, right?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about it for sure. But like it does become very heavy.
Oh,
and you do start to feel very small if you don't believe in a God. You start to feel kind of insignificant, but I think there's also power in that, because you do kind of feel like, well, hey, like this is my shot. This is my time. This is how I want to use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for me, like that's why I don't like it's because we have to live in the moment and do our best, like while we're here on Earth. Yeah. It's like I don't really care how you get there when it comes to being a decent, generous
just be
person.
Good to people, man.
Yeah, it's just like whatever. Like if you're super Catholic or you're super Jewish or Muslim or nothing, as long as you're being decent. Whatever gets you there, whatever gets you to the finish line. Like I think
everyone would agree on that. Though.
Yeah.
Being a good person is the most important thing. I was just curious what you actually believe after the fact. To me, that's an interesting conversation.
Some people are good people though because of a fear of a repercussion from a God or something.
People do that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think there's some bad. I mean, I guess the question is, does it actually act as a deterrent? Say the 7 deadly sins or whatever, because you're scared of the punishment of acting not in accordance with your religion.
And for some people, maybe that is a thing. And what if that?
Well, that's
makes
why
them
they
a decent
exist.
person?
Yeah. I mean, well, in some interpretations. So it's like ultimately, I don't know. Like, do we need rules from a religion to be decent people, or are we inherently decent people? Like, because we all know there's certain sociopaths or like pieces of shit out there that don't treat people kind, that present as religious people, that have like these morals and tenets. Where it's like, actually, I see the way you operate. You're absolutely not that. Like, what are you spouting with this sort of like religious stuff that you're fronting like you're something, even though you're not? And it's like you can always tell who's decent or who's not. And
yeah, I think most people are decent. There's just the weird outliers on either end of the spectrum that are extremely nice or extremely assholey.
Right.
And most people are generally kind, I think.
Yeah.
Religious or not. Like, there's asshole priests out there, and there's
Sure.
really nice people who are atheists.
Yeah.
What did you say you are? Did you identify, Erica?
Catholic.
Catholic, so you believe in God.
I'm a
And
Catholic. Well, this gets a little sticky.
my parents might be listening.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, to be honest. Sorry. I was thrown into this religion without asking if I was okay with it. When I was a little baby, I got baptized and did the whole thing. And, like, I never really thought about it until, like, I was done the Catholic school system. Since then, I haven't really participated in religion at all. But, yeah, like, I don't think I'd ever actively leave Catholicism, or, like, I don't even know how you go. You can leave a religion, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you can do whatever
Like,
you
people
want.
change their religion and stuff, so I think you
Yeah.
could leave.
Would you raise your kids Catholic though?
See, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
So Lauren and I were having a conversation. It was like, if we have a kid one day, and by the way, Lauren's not religious at all. She's probably more atheist than anything.
Interesting.
She thinks it's a bit of a sham, I think. And she was like, but if we have a kid, we should probably get it baptized just in case.
Right? Because everyone does it.
And she was like, I was baptized. It's like, but what if there is? I'm like, are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
no.
She was in the last years like talking about like Christopher Hitchens and like how like religion's a fucking sham and causes way more problems than anything. And now you're talking about wanting to get the kid baptized. But my attitude was like, sure, if you want to. Like, I don't give it. To me, that's like hocus pocus shit anyway. So I'm like, if that makes you feel good.
Never hurts to hedge your bets.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm doing that this weekend.
Shane's
Really?
getting baptized.
I'm getting baptized.
You're getting baptized.
Yeah, and
You are?
Lucy.
What?
This
For
is
real?
literally somebody.
No.
Somebody said to me the other day. They were like, "Shane's getting baptized."
Was it in the Google calendar?
Okay,
or
what do
something?
you have to do as an adult to get baptized? You have to go to classes or something, right?
The priest wouldn't do it because I refused classes.
Because when Shane shook the priest's hand, it went.
But I
Shane's
think
a demon, that's the
yeah,
joke.
yeah. It was good.
Thank you.
But so now, like, I'm unofficially going to be baptized by Alex's cousin, but Lucy.
Unofficially, it's a good knockoff T-shirt outside the arena.
Like,
Someone's popping out with a Super
family
Soaker
shows
30
up,
and
it's,
hitting.
yeah, Super Soaker. I just like the idea of the three of you showing up at the gates of heaven, and then it's like Lucy and Alex. It's like, yep, wait.
Shane's got a fake
What's
ticket.
that? He's got a
Asterisk
fucking-
above your head.
It's got like, but I've got my certificate. Sorry, bro, that's a forgery.
Brother.
You're gonna have to.
But Lucy
Brother,
said
that
she
was
can't
correct.
take classes, so she gets to do it without taking the classes. For
So-
real.
So you're jealous of Lucy? You're like, shit.
No, I don't care. Like, I wasn't pro or like I'm kind of like your view, Max. How I don't care if Lucy gets baptized because I do think if there is a God, I would think he wouldn't care if you got the little sprinkling of water.
Yeah.
Is
that's what I
Alex? Is that why? Is she?
Yeah, and it's part of like her work as a Catholic school teacher.
Oh,
You have
yeah.
to. Like,
You need to be vouched for by a priest.
Oh yeah, we had to hang with a priest for like 4 hours one day.
Yeah.
He just
Really?
came. He checked out our house. He went in every room and kind
Come on,
of like
really?
made sure we were normal and told us stories. And
Was it weird when we went through the underwear drawer?
I'm taking these.
Spending a little too
They're
much time in
mine.
the underwear drawer.
Yours. I'll get back to you on whether we can baptize you or not, son.
Oh wow. Is Winnie getting baptized?
No,
No.
no, man.
Wait, were you married under the Catholic Church? Or no? Is that a requirement for
No,
teachers
yeah, it
as
is a
well?
requirement. So I think there's something fishy going on
Were
there.
you married?
Yeah, like Alex is really worried about that.
Were you
part.
married inside a church? Because I'm pretty sure if you want to be married under the Catholic law, you need to be inside of a church when your
Yeah,
ceremony
well, I think
happens.
we're gonna do something later to make it real, so she can get hired as a teacher.
That's so stupid, don't you think?
We're leaving all that in for sure.
But don't you think that's crazy that they make you do that? Like, that's like
Yeah.
some stupid shit that like the Catholic religion makes you do still.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
get
need
that
to
there's
do-
customs and traditions, but the
Yeah.
Catholic Church has also got to get with it. Like, I think the religions that are going to survive are the ones that are like living in the 21st century, and not some of those like old practices just seem so out of date.
It's like anything, man. They want you to do it in their venue.
yeah,
Get the money
they
in there.
Get the Skrilla, sure.
Yeah.
But we had we weren't religious growing up at all. But my dad, whose parents like weren't particularly Jewish, and he like doesn't know it. Like I don't know how to spell like Hanukkah or anything. Like, but he'd occasionally like sort of
Wait,
show-
is being Jewish like you said? Your parents they weren't particularly Jewish. Is that a like
He
a
means religious,
religion
is what he's
or
saying.
a?
Sorry,
Or
in
an
a religious
ethnicity-
sense, but it is also an
ethnicity.
ethnicity or
Okay.
like a group of people too. But yeah, my dad like would show interest occasionally. He'd be like 1 year, be like we're doing Hanukkah this year. I'm like, okay, like we're making potato latkes. Like, sweet. And then like years would pass and like nothing. And then my dad would be like, hey Emily, do you want to go to shul? And she'd be like, do I have to? Be like, yeah, let's do it. And then that would last for like a year. I didn't have to go.
What shul?
She was like Sunday school for Jewish
Oh.
people. But yeah. Anyway, that's.
I don't know if we've ever been this revelatory about our religious leanings or our
Yeah,
thoughts
what's
on
the
I don't think we've
description
ever talked
gonna
about
read?
this before. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked. I know. We know this amongst ourselves just from talking in bars,
Yeah.
obviously. But I don't think we've ever shared this stuff on podcast.
Yeah. Well, any listeners out there that are religious, let us know why you like it so much.
Yeah, or
Is that
fact
the
check
call to
anything
action?
we
That
say.
is no, because I do like talking to religious people because
Me too. I love
Anybody
it.
who's like interested like in a particular thing and is passionate about it, I'm always curious.
When I was like 20,
Yeah. By the way, any listeners out there, I hope we don't sound condescending at all.
No,
whatever
no,
gets
no,
you to
no.
the line, the finish line, my friend.
Totally.
Listen, yeah, absolutely. There was a friend of mine. He had a friend who was like a youth leader or something in his church, and he wanted to have a discussion with me as somebody who was agnostic, and he wanted to basically ask where my beliefs came from and where I, derived sort of, motivation and all that stuff and incentive. And it was a really interesting conversation because I asked him questions back, and it was like, I remember we did like a Tim Hortons in like Westdale and Hamilton, and we sat there for like, it ended up being like a 3-hour conversation, and it was one of the better ones.
Did he leave an agnostic person?
No, he probably. I think he left feeling very strong within his convictions, and I left feeling.
But see, I feel
strong
like
within my
you
convictions.
come off more atheisty because saying it's very unlikely to me is more of an atheist belief, and saying, "Oh, I think everything's equally as likely" is more of an agnostic approach.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, I think anything's possible. But when you ask me what I think is more likely, and by the way, you made a good point. Like, how could I ever? What would be the measurement? What would be the data? When I say what's more likely, I guess I'm basing that on, minimal reading I've done of scientists and the way I understand how biology works and how those, the vast sort of like expanse of the Earth and the universe. It is hard for me to comprehend the idea of like an intelligent sort of design in the way that we sort of interact as humans, right? Because I'm only sort of extrapolating what we are as humans, and I'm sort of like blowing it up into what a god might be. So that seems unlikely to me. I think man's construct of God is unlikely to me when I say that. But like, there's something that I probably don't completely comprehend at all, which I think could be.
But I think if there
likely.
was a God, there'd be a pretty good chance he could make something out of our realm of even thought
Sure.
or understanding, right?
think
That
he's
he would
like-
make it so complex.
Do you think he's like a white guy with a beard?
Yeah, I think he's ripped. Abs, David. He listens to David Goggins. You can fucking do it, Jesus.
All right, let's get to
baby. Yeah, let's move
listener
on.
Q&As.
Yeah.
How long are
Erica,
we
it's your time
right
to
now?
shine.
We are at 43 minutes.
Perfect. All right.
So there were some good ones. There were a few group questions for everyone to answer and a few specific questions. Where
Ooh.
would you like to start?
You lead
You're
the
running
way.
the show.
Yeah.
Lead the way? Okay. First one. This one looks good. It's from Anthony Laduca10 on Instagram. Who is each of your dream guests for the pod?
Barack Obama.
Paul McCartney.
I was gonna say Nathan Fielder, which was the huge running thing for a bit, but I'm switching it to Norm Macdonald now. I'm on a Norm
Ooh.
kick.
What about David Goggins?
No, because I hear from him every day, like, and I know his MO.
Okay, cool.
What's the update on the Fielder stuff? Anything or?
No, I don't think he'll ever do it.
No
I've
way.
lost hope. Yeah.
Damn.
Who's your dream guest, Erica?
I don't know. I've never thought about it.
Okay, think about it, and then we'll come
I've
back
only
to the
been
end.
to one interview actually. Remember, I sat in with Dean Brody.
I do, yeah.
That was awesome.
You like Dean Brody?
He's hot.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that you
No,
whispered
that's
it,
fun.
but the mic, you still whispered it into the mic.
He's hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to crank that in post.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, on this note, the next one is for Max. Lindsay Zalot wants to know, many pods ago, Max Kerman talked about learning and reading more about mindfulness and trying to practice it often. Just wondering, how is that journey going, and if Max has any reflections to share?
It's great in that there's like a few mindfulness books that I've read. There's a good podcast called Headspace. I'd say that
You mean app, right?
App, sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Podcast.
Yeah, I meant app. Yeah. I'd say that it's probably better if I did it every day, and I definitely do not. I definitely come to it when I'm feeling anxious. I've heard experts say that it's even better when you're not anxious and you're just doing it like every day. But yeah, I recommend it. The Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich, it's some Vietnamese name. But yeah, just look up that book. That's what I recommend. The Miracle of Mindfulness.
I'm very curious what a guy like you gets anxiety over.
Great question.
Yeah.
I'm sneaky competitive in ways that I'm kind of ashamed of. That and like when it comes to like the music world and just my job, and there's certain things that like are irrationally in my head as a competition, and I'm very embarrassed by it because I think it's like a very ugly side of me, and so I lean on mindfulness to help me reshape the situation and look at it with clearer eyes.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Brandon Flowers was the answer.
Yeah.
All right, Shane, this one's for you.
Hit me.
So I recently got Crave and checked out the Crave show, and now I need to know more about Crocodile Mile.
Whoa.
P.S. You guys have been killing it lately. Love the Freedom Eps and especially the basketball talk.
Hey.
Yeah.
So yeah, Crocodile Mile.
Crocodile Mile was a rap group I was in when I was young. I used to, when I was very, very young, I took hip hop dance class. And yeah.
Is there any footage?
No. Like I wasn't good at it. I just took the class and realized very soon after that I wasn't good and I didn't really like it. But I was very into rap. I always wanted to be like a Beastie Boys-esque guy and in a band that was similar. But I was also into comedy, so I decided to like combine both worlds and be in a comedy rap group. Now, this rap group was so offensive that I would, I would be deplatformed and lose my job and my wife and children or child, like if it ever got released. So that's
Where is it all?
there was a couple of fans who put it online. So I think if you really tried hard, you could probably find a song. But I recommend not doing that for the reasons I just mentioned.
Hashtag deplatform Shane.
Yeah.
So was it just you, or was it a group?
No, there was other people, and I won't mention their names.
Fair.
For, yeah.
Legal reasons.
Yes.
This question was submitted by This Family Tree.
Hey.
Who is the pod's resident diva? Why?
Oh.
Who is the most relaxed / easygoing to work with? You three can all answer that about each other.
Good question.
That is a good question.
I will say that I was thinking about this pod the other day in that I feel really lucky that whenever I see you guys or we go in to do something, I don't get a tinge of panic or stress. Everybody has those colleagues where you're like, oh, shit, I have to go do something with this person. Or, I don't get that at all. Like when I ran into you guys on the street today when we were walking up, I was like, oh, there they are. Like there was not, it was just very pleasant and I was sort of just like excited about it. So to the diva question, I don't know. I feel like
If you can't think of the diva, does that mean you are the diva?
maybe I'm the diva.
I think, honestly, my answer would be I think all three of us are capable of being diva-esque.
Having moments.
Having moments.
It kind of
for
depends
sure.
on what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Because if it was just the pod and the way we do it, I would say Mike would probably be the biggest diva. But when it came to doing the Crave show
Right.
and something that I consider my turf, all of a sudden I get very precious about it, and I'm almost impossible to deal with if somebody crosses me in any way. So in that way, I was the biggest diva, and I would assume, in the musical sense, probably you're the diva.
What are you talking about? Like
I don't know if someone was like fucking with your music
Oh,
or
sure.
came to something where you had to hold your ground.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of comes down to like who is feeling the most pressure about the specific moment.
Great way to put it.
So it's like if Mike has been stressed, like when we're taking on something new, and he feels like I have to carry this fucking load, and you guys aren't fucking helping me, and that's a reasonable thing. And you are very sort of. Your sense of comedy and how it needs to be practiced is something that you care a lot about, and if like producer Max says, "Oh, Shane, we're gonna have to cut that," you get very diva-esque about it because you feel so strongly about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say if anybody's being a diva, it comes from a place of just care.
You know what? That is. I think Max is probably the most laid back of the three of us.
100%.
By far.
There's no question about that.
We're the divas. In the group.
but also I have a bit of a place of privilege when it comes to this shit because I've made it very clear that I don't know how to do fucking anything, and so I'm just like, I don't know, someone else has got to figure it out. Like anything that actually requires heavy lifting, I have taken myself out of the running for. So I've sort of
So I think the second part of the question was most laid back. So I guess we go with
Max is
Max
easily
for
the
sure.
most laid back.
Okay.
But also,
Max.
I do think it's important to have different sensibilities. Like if it was just a bunch of me's, nothing would fucking happen. You know what I mean? Like, and also if it was if everybody was like high strung about this or that, like that wouldn't be good either. I think it's important that, and not to say that you guys are high strung because you're not, but there needs to be that dynamic.
Yeah, we each have our pros and cons.
Yeah, everybody has their own lane. It's good.
All right.
But I will say, like last year, it's been fucking great. It's been like,
It's rolling. And honestly, recording these freedoms has been really fun. Mm-hmm. It is loose, A lot
There
less
is
structure.
freedom to it.
Totally.
Thank you.
Hit us.
One bucket list item, something you guys have yet to do that you want to do.
Oh,
Wow. There's this.
is it related to the pod or just in life?
Anything.
Anything.
There's this thing called the Star Trek cruise that happens every January.
Would you go on?
So here's the thing. Like the big joke is like I really want to go on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise in my life. Obviously, like I didn't even get on a plane until I worked at Much Music. Like we didn't like growing up. We didn't go on like vacations where we go to Disneyland or fly anywhere. It's like we just it wasn't a thing that we would do. But so I've never been on a cruise, and my big joke is like I want to go on a cruise. Everyone's like, why do you want to go on a cruise? I'm like, I want to play basketball in the ocean because every one of these cruise ships has a basketball court, and I've never been on one. So my wife, she's like, why do you want to go on a cruise? She doesn't understand it. So there's this Star Trek cruise that happens where all like the old cast members like go like and they'll like have yoga during the day and then they'll have like music on board. So my big like joke dream is that I'm going to go on a Star Trek cruise by myself.
Oh, by yourself? I was gonna say, would you bring your family?
They don't want to come. None of them.
You'll probably be the king of that basketball court too.
Yeah, it's like it was a dream. I got to talk about Star Trek all day, and I was the best basketball player there. I get that. What about you, Shane?
For me, I was thinking about this today before this question was even asked. It's weird. There's a Netflix show called I Think You Should Leave. It's a comedy
So good.
series.
Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. As almost anyone who knows anything about comedy knows, it's like the best sketch show probably ever to be released. And when I watch something like that, I'm like, geez, before I die, I would love to make something that good and that funny. Because I feel like I haven't really done anything of note that's very funny that I've like made or written.
Grave, man.
I thought you said grave for a second.
No.
Grave show.
Yeah, but still, I want to get to that level of how amazing that show is. That's really what or when I watch Nathan Fielder or something.
Shane,
like
what would it take for you to like quit your job and just be like, I know it's tough because you got like a young family and you have a really good job, but to be like, because I think in order to pull that off,
Full commitment?
Yeah, you kind of need to do a full commitment. Like, is there
well,
like?
I think you could. What you do is save up all your vacation days and just say, I'm taking 5 weeks off and I'm gonna work my ass off and do it. Because that's what I love about film or shows like that. You just got to do it once and then it lives forever.
Yeah, cool.
Bucket list, Maxie?
Yeah. What would be my experience? I mean, I'd like to do a little more traveling places I've never been, like South America or East Asia, I guess. But
I can find out where the cruise goes if.
yeah, that'd be a nightmare for me.
You hate space.
I would. Yeah, I'd hate that Star Trek cruise. Star Trek?
Yeah,
not Star Wars.
You
Okay.
got it.
Yeah, I think just like meeting people that I look up to, like. If Barack Obama comes to town, if he does a speaking tour, I want to moderate it. I just like to meet the guy. Max Martin, great pop songwriter. I'd like to meet him. Yeah, I don't know. Just meeting people, I think, is what I like to do. Erica, what about you? You're younger than us, so you got a lot of stuff to do.
No,
you
I
got
haven't
time
done
for
many
it.
things. Yeah, I haven't really done that many things. I've never been to BC.
Cool.
I really want to go.
We might be able to work that out for you through this pod.
Yeah, let's do it. Or Coachella 2020.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
okay.
the
There
pod,
you go.
let's do it.
There's the bucket list.
Okay, next question. This one I thought was interesting as well. I'm just curious, without naming names, if you would have or ever not invite or / refuse to have someone on your show because of controversial beliefs or allegations that were associated with them. Just curious if you guys tend to lean more on the side of not giving someone like that a platform or opening it up for bigger conversation.
That's a really good question.
It is a good
Totally.
question.
Because we think about that sometimes too.
We've had the conversation. I don't want to speak for. I would say that Max and I would probably lean toward just to stay away if somebody seems problematic. And I don't want to speak for you, Shane, but I think Shane would actually be more like there might be some value gained in having the conversation. So he would maybe be like, why not have him? Let's break it down. Whereas I think Max and I are more cautious and kind of like maybe let's not give somebody a platform.
No, I think the exact same as you guys in the sense, because that's a twofold question. The first part, would you ever not have someone on the show because they were controversial or they're involved with something? Yeah, I think we'd all agree, like, for the greater good of the pod, it would cause too much of a stir in society or something, or could fuck up this good thing we have going. So let's not do it. Because my leanings, which is the other part of the question, I lean towards giving those people a platform and hearing them out, and maybe extracting some knowledge or extra truth that maybe the public wasn't willing to hear. So I would want to, but I wouldn't out of fear, because society sometimes scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, no.
Fair.
Yeah, it's interesting because, that idea of giving, just like the concept of giving a platform, and there's an argument to be made that in itself is a problem. Like, if you give a platform to somebody. And I don't know exactly how I feel about that. And I guess, like, it depends on who it is, of course. I will say that one of my favorite podcasts is Joe Rogan. And I think Joe Rogan does a really good job of having just really human conversations with people from across the political spectrum, and you end up learning about people who you think you would just hate, and then you go, okay, I don't agree with, say, 85% of what this guy's saying, but he comes from a certain place and he has a particular worldview because of X, Y, and Z, and there's 15% of him where I'm like, oh, okay, that actually kind of enlightened me in a certain way. And I think it's important to try to find common ground. Because what else? Because what's the alternative? The alternative is just going, fuck that guy. And I don't think the fuck that guy thing is actually helpful. You know what I mean?
Oh, and you end up staying in an echo chamber. You basically reinforce all of your stuff in that sense.
And by the way, occasionally fuck that guy is important.
It is important.
I think there are certain people that you should say fuck. Okay. It was really funny. There's a hot button word in itself, but Ben Shapiro, who I don't really know much about, but he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was a pretty civil conversation. He's a pretty conservative guy. I disagree with him on tons of stuff. The conversation was civil though, and I learned something about him and learned like how he conceives of his conservative Judaism and his libertarian beliefs. Anyway, I was having a conversation with Lauren about that podcast. We were walking up through the annex, and some guy, we were just passing like a random stranger on the street. He's like, "Hey, sorry, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but Ben Shapiro's a fucking dick." And then we were like, well, we don't like him. He was just on like this Joe Rogan park, and Joe Rogan seems to be okay. Like, Joe Rogan, like people kind of like Joe Rogan though, right? Like Joe Rogan was talking, and we were just like, and I was just like, anyway, I just think that, you don't have to like or agree with someone, but I think trying to find any goodness is just generally better to move things along. All right, last one.
Okay, well, here's just a quick thing. Someone just wants to know if Max would allow, is the word he used, Mike and Shane to do a Freedom episode on thoughts about Game of Thrones once it's all done. A wrap-up epi.
Oh.
As a producer, and I'm interested in good ratings, yes.
Yeah.
It's just a savvy business move, really.
Yeah.
Well, you know what would be fun is, what we should maybe do once it's wrapped. Maybe we'll have a talk, because Shane also has funny sort of thoughts on Game of Thrones. We talk about it on the Mondays when we go into work, because he's new to the show. You don't watch the show, so it could be kind of an interesting, if not in-depth conversation. Maybe there.
Well,
could be
this kind of
something
goes
entertaining.
into another question. Someone is wondering, will more Champagne Boys make special appearances? So that could be an episode where there's room for some special guests.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
A lot of friends love Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I got a Champagne Boys side Game of Thrones chat group, little text group. But should we have another Champagne Boy on?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we've had my brother.
Yeah.
Get
Guys.
Julian on.
Get Julian.
Julian,
get
everyone
Sean.
loves shirtless
Yeah.
Julian. I guess we'll wrap it up. You know what we'll do, though, because I know we do have more questions?
Mm-hmm.
Let's add some questions to the end of every episode.
Yeah, that's fun.
That
That's
is
good.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll keep
so
doing
we'll
that.
kind of have 2 or 3 at the end of every episode, but this was a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like
so send them in every week.
Yeah. We'll remind you.
Yep.
That's it.
Cool.
We don't have a laugh line. I mean, we ended on the laugh line yesterday, but
Shane?
Diva alert. No. Thanks, Max.
Mike on Much can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. You can subscribe to the show on any platform that has podcasts. Spotify, do it.